Hey guys, it's Morgan. Next step, we're going to start adding in B-roll on top of our testimonial. Again, this is so we can kind of hide the cuts and just make it a little bit more interesting. So again, this is our A-roll. This is our main camera of the interview. So now we're just going to add some B-roll clips. So I've got several clips of Brian working out during a Saturday workout. So I'm just going to, again, I could either right-click, import, or I could hit Control-I, import, or even I've got my folder here full of different clips. I could even simply just drag and drop those to the timeline as well. And you'll see how it populates in here, the project panel as well. So I'm going to go through these clips and find a bunch of different videos I have of Brian working out, and then just drag a whole bunch of them over to the timeline and drop them in. So I'm going to go ahead and mute the audio track here just so we don't have to hear the random gym noises and everything. So I'm going to hit play with the space bar, just kind of watch this clip here. So I'm basically looking for nice, clean shots that are nice and steady. Something's going on. Doesn't have to be, tremendous action every time, but overall this shot's pretty good. I'll probably take off the front end here with S and then ripple delete V. Hit play again with spacebar. Usually you want to try about a 4 or 5 second clip. It doesn't need to be super long. It shouldn't be like super short either. So I'm going to end the clip there. I highlighted the end of the clip, so we're going to keep this part here, delete this part here. So hit V, ripple delete. Advance forward with the letter R. So here's some kettlebell swings, and it's important when we're doing these edits of especially testimonials, you don't want crazy hard movements in these. So you want somebody that's not doing CrossFit, not coming to the gym, to be like, hey, kettlebells, that's not bad. I can do that. Ring rows, that's fine. Air squats, you don't want to intimidate everybody watching these videos, because if you're doing super heavy snatches, somebody that's sitting on the couch is gonna be like, screw that. There's no way I'm gonna be able to do that, so I'll pass. So that's why I try to use a lot of kettlebells, a lot of body weight movements, just simple things that a lot of people can do. So go ahead and start this clip, advance backwards with E. So right there, that's probably not going to be a good clip to use because I caught him right at the end of that kettlebell swing. So we're just trash this whole clip with ripple delete. So here I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen. It was a partner workout, so his partner was currently working. He's breathing heavy, so I was kind of waiting for something to happen. So now he starts with burpees, so I'm going to stop right there. S to add edit, V to ripple. A lot of movements. Everybody can do burpees. That's not something, amazing. Now, maybe proper form wasn't entirely for the burpee. I mean, we'd like to get that chest to the floor probably, but hey, that'll be all right. So right there's the end of the clip. So we'll go ahead and hit S, highlight it, V. This one he was kind of struggling on kip. He's only been doing it for 6 months, so the kipping pull-ups aren't quite his thing. So I'm probably gonna get rid of that clip. Now here's some more kettlebells. These are simple. Again, a lot of people can do them, so we'll probably use this clip for sure. It doesn't have to see. I kind of try to go with the motion there at the end, so we'll keep that part. So right there, top of the kettlebell swing, S ripple with the V. We kind of follow that back and forth. Just adds a little bit of movement, a little bit of something extra. So since I started the clip with the arms up, I'll go ahead and end it with the same way. S, delete the rest of that one. So let's go ahead and find a few more videos of Brian doing some random stuff. I'm actually going to drop in a time lapse of the gym as well. I took a time lapse, set my camera in the corner of the room, and just kind of set it on time lapse, and it's kind of an interesting shot. So we'll see that in a second. So here's Brian, just warming up. We'll probably play this clip early on because we kind of want to tell a story with this whole part too, So we'll start with maybe some warm-up exercises, some random clips of him talking to other members. So S there, V, play with spacebar. Just to show you, kind of help show the community aspect of the gym. To show hey, there's a lot of people my age, my same type of people. So here's that time lapse. There's actually Brian there even. So like I said, this was a pretty big partner workout on Saturday, so I'll just let that play for a few seconds. We'll go ahead and stop it there because the action's kind of dying down because people were going in and out of the runs. So S, V. We'll also kind of take off this first part. It's kind of empty. Everybody's kind of on the run. So right here, people start coming back in. So we'll hit S, then V. So now we got a pretty neat little time lapse of the gym. All right, let's look for a couple more clips. Let's get some random B-roll of the gym as well. Here's a little video that you can take. It really has nothing to do with anybody in particular. It's just kind of a picture of the rack of the dumbbells. I use a technique called rack focus. Basically, you get this part here in focus, and then you twist the lens to adjust your focus, and that gets this end focus here. So we'll use that. That's kind of a neat little clip. We're gonna probably start right there. S, ripple delete. So it's going to go focus from here, kind of slide down there, and then the end focused here. Neat little clip, adds a little bit of something extra to it. Doesn't have to be all Brian, doesn't have to be all members of the gym. So for an extra little bit of flair, I'm going to throw in a random coaching shot of the entire group. It's not a great clip to begin with, really kind of blown out there on the right side. So we're going to wait till it gets, I think I panned a little bit. And I'm not a big fan of that video right there. We'll get rid of that one. Let's see. Here's one of Brian stretching. We'll just kind of get this one going. And again, we're telling that story. I'm going to stop right there. S, V. Again, this is going to go early part of the video where we're just kind of stretching. We're getting loose. Again, telling the story. Showing the progression of the workout. That looks good. Action stopped. Highlight V. Ripple delete. Let's get another one, maybe. I know, there's one of Brian running, I believe I've got. I'll try to find that one. Dynamic, different stuff. All right, so there's Brian in the lead there. So we'll go ahead and S, V. This is probably going to be too long of a clip as is. So we're going to wait till he gets past this and stop it there. S, highlight V. So we'll probably start it right about there. V. Again, that's going to completely different atmosphere, just different shot in general. Keep our audience interested. So that's a pretty good amount of B-roll clips. So we're going ahead and start dropping these over our timeline. And just to make things simple, here's our good audio. Whoops. And if you do make a mistake like that, Control Z is definitely your friend. All you have to do is hit Control Z and it'll go back to where you were before that movement. So to eliminate confusion of because if we just try to drag these over, that's going to be right on top of our A-cam. And that's, if we didn't like that placement and we moved it, it's going to delete that out right there. So we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and put all our video tracks on a different channel. So we're going to highlight all these videos, just click the mouse, drag across, and we're going to move those up one level. So now they're on a different track than the original video. Now you'll see how the audio is on our good audio source. So now it's going to turn into gym noise. And that is not what we want. So again, Control Z. Now we're going to do a little different. Using natural noise, which is what that gym was, the voice there is fine in some cases. I don't put a lot of natural audio in there because usually in a gym, there's loud music, there's a lot of yelling, all that good stuff, a lot of weights being dropped. So I will actually just go ahead and unlink the audio clips from the video clips. So you highlight everything, right click, unlink. So now your video clips are totally independent from your audio. So now I'm just going to highlight my audio, then we go ahead and delete it. And now we're totally only messing with a video clip. So we can scoot that over to wherever we want it. But I'm going to leave them over here for time being. I'm going to try to find the clips kind of in that story mode, So this one's the stretching, that's early on. So we're going to put that in the front. There's another one there we go. There's a good stretching one too. So we'll go ahead and put that up front. I'm just going to kind of highlight these and just kind of slide them over to see what works well. So now I'm going to go to the very beginning of the clip. And we're going to go ahead and play through a little bit here.
My name is Brian Doyle. I'm a dentist here in Vincennes, and I've been coming to Final Call since October 2019. Before I came to Final
All right, so I don't necessarily like how it ends the clip of him talking and goes right into that. They're kind of tied together. You can see how the two clips are lined up there. So I like to do what I like to slide that over just a little bit. These are called like L cuts and J cuts. This one would be a J because it would make the the shape of a J, and just the opposite would be true. Like if we were ending here, this would be in the shape of an L. So it's kind of just a little bit of a technique to make it a little bit more interesting. So he's going to be continuing to talk, and then it's going to cut into that clip there. So really, you listening to that, if you had your eyes closed, you'd never know that transitions to a new question, new cut. So we'll go ahead and play that out.
2019. Before I came to Final Call, I would run a lot and I would work out a couple days a week, but then my wife changed positions.
All right, so again, that was that hard cut that we didn't like in the earlier video, and so overall it sounds pretty good. So really we don't even notice that cut in there. So we'll go ahead and head back to the A-cam, let that play out a minute.
To that gym and didn't know what to do,
and the whole point, most likely your subject that you're interviewing doesn't want to see themselves on screen for like a 3-minute clip, So I like to put a ton of B-roll. Like here's all the clips I took that day. Now granted, this wasn't all just Brian that day. I was actually filming 2 other people. But I mean, I tried to get a ton of short little like 5-10 second clips through the day just so I had plenty of B-roll to pick through. So we're not looking at our subject the entire time. So go ahead and play that out again.
Just hanging out for a while. And then
now you notice that clip's a little bit darker than these other clips. So we'll lighten that up later on.
Just hanging out for a while and then Final Call open. I thought it sounded exciting. What makes Final Call different than...
So what I'm going to do here is actually going to hit C, and then I'm going to highlight everything past that point. But notice how it highlighted this track up here. Now I don't want to move this track, so I'm going to undo that. Hit the letter T, click off. Now I'm going to hit C again, but see how the 2 arrows there? If you hold Shift, it goes into 1 arrow. So that's only going to highlight the video tracks on below. So now only the video tracks on the bottom are highlighted. So I'm going to drag that out like just 1 second. That way it kind of has a little bit of gap before it jumps in the question, but not a terrible amount.
What makes Final Call different than...
Now I'm going to expand that just a little bit. That way there's not so much dead time. You can kind of hear the blank spot. There's kind of a little bit of a drop. So I'm going to actually hit the X key. I'm going to use that audio crossfade on the end of that clip. That way it's not such a hard ending to blank noise.
What makes Final Call different than just working out by myself at just a...
Okay, I'm going to use that clip. I'm going to cut it there with the S and the V. Or actually the V won't work because there's 2 layers of video clips. So I'm just going to have to use the delete button there.
A Global Gym or something like that would be, I think, 2 things. Just a variety of the workouts and also the...
Okay, that's enough dead air of just his face. So let's bring out another clip in there.
Camaraderie of it.
So that's kind of late in the clip. Let's go ahead and throw in this time lapse. That's a pretty neat video. And then it'll kind of break it up. Again, he talks about camaraderie.
I think 2 things, just a variety of the workouts and also the camaraderie.
So variety and camaraderie. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to show a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things. You got people doing box push-ups. You got people doing ring rows, pistols, all kinds of different things. So that shows the variety, and also a ton of people there. So it kind of gets both his points.
I'd work out, I'd kind of do the same things over and over again and get bored and end up looking at my phone a little bit, and now we have...
Okay, so that will look good there. So next, let's continue going through. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this. I'm going to go ahead and edit these pictures, or the rest of these B-roll clips the same way I'm doing these, and we'll pick it up on a little bit more kind of fancy editing techniques for the next one. I went ahead and finalized a lot of the B-roll clips, kind of put them where I want them, shorten them down, just kind of made it look a little bit better. So now we're going to get some final touches on our testimonial here. So we mentioned about how some of these clips were a little bit darker compared to, say, like the testimonial interview, especially this one here. So what we're going to do there is going to do a little bit of a color touch up. So we're going to start by highlighting our clip. We're going to go to color tab up top. And now it's going to give us all these options on temperature, tint, exposure, etc. And so for this one, we're just going to change the exposure a little bit. If we scroll this to the right, you'll notice how this lightens up the shot a little bit. If we go to the extreme, it's going to be blown out. The opposite, it's going to be super dark. So right there is 0. We're going to just go about maybe just do 1.1. That's going to be a lot better than it was. It's going to lighten it up a little bit, kind of help blend those two images together. So we'll kind of scroll through all these B-roll clips. That one could use it a little bit. Just, well, again, highlight the clip itself, slide that over just a little bit. Let's move on to the time lapse. Again, just a little bit darker compared to our main file, so might as well lighten them up just a little bit. That one's pretty good. We're close to the window, so that one works. That one could probably use a little bit. Just scroll that exposure up just a little bit. Now, if like we had really blown out parts like the window shot, we could use our like highlights and whites and blacks and shadows. We can adjust those, but for these, most part, we're just going to change the exposure a little bit. Now this one's the opposite problem. It's a little bit too bright. It was outside, obviously direct sunlight. So we're going to lower that down just a little bit. You don't want to go too much on lowering the exposure because it kind of gets like a gray tint to it. So just do that a little bit. On this one, let's try messing with the highlights a little bit. Now if you'll see, that's kind of the opposite. That's the extreme high, extreme low. So we probably want it on the low side actually. So we're probably going to leave that about a -55-ish. Shadows, yeah, I like that. Kind of a little bit contrasty, which isn't a bad thing. So we'll leave like that. Try the whites, try the blacks. If you don't like it, you can always set these back to 0 manually by hitting the 0, or even, oops, I did 2 things at once. You can hit 0 or slide it back and forth. I like to go to the extremes just so I can kind of see how it looks on both ends and adjust as needed. So I think that one looks pretty good. I finally end the clip with,
no matter what fitness level you're at, I think there's
this shot of 2 guys, him high-fiving.
Tailor it to you where to work and get some really good results.
All right, so that is pretty good overall. So I like how that flows together, kind of tells a story with the B-roll clips, and didn't need all the B-roll, so we're kind of just throw that out there. Over there to the side, like I said, we might need it later, might not, but hey, we edited it down, so might as well keep it handy if we need to. So the next thing I did was actually through an intro. This is an intro I use for a lot of this gym's so it gives like a consistent logo reveal. So I'll play this here. So basically it's just their logo, does a little kind of flare effect, and then cuts into the clip. So I also added a music track, so we're going to scroll that up a little bit. This track here is actually a music file. It's an MP3 file that I've got off one of the editing or music services I subscribe to. So once I drop that in there, I'm going to unmute that track here so we can actually see how it goes. Also, once you're done with the color, you can click back to your preset tab where I made my own preset editing tabs, so all my windows are where I like them and everything. So just go back to there, back to normal. So we threw the audio part in here, the audio file, and when you drag and drop it, it's going to be super loud.
I'm a dentist.
So let's unmute that and let's hear how loud that is. So there's no way that's going to work. So if you look up here, you've got different tabs. You've got, this is the project we're in, so we called it test way back when. And then here's what we call effect controls. That's going to get, if we highlight a clip, that gives us a bunch of controls on the clip. But then we go to audio clip mixer. That's the one we're going to want. So once I hit play, you're going to see this channel here that has the song in it. It's going to be really, really loud. So that's definitely like overpowering everything Brian's saying, and that is not what we want. So a little tidbit on this will be our audio track of Brian talking. We want that to be between -12 and -6 at the very top. So you see here, you got the negatives here. That's -4, -7, 10, 13. We want his audio to be hitting up here at the max and down here at the minimum. So let's go ahead and mute our audio for the music. Let's just play Brian, see where he's ending.
A couple days a week, but then my wife changed positions. I lost access to that gym and didn't know what to do, and just kind of just hanging out for a while, and then final call open, and I thought it sounded exciting.
All right, so he's ending a lot of -13, -16, so we're going to bump that up just a little bit. I want to make sure all the clips are treated equal, so I'm going to highlight all these. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit.
What makes Final Call different than just
So it's
working out by
hitting there
myself
right
is
about
just
negative
a
11,
flow
12.
music.
So that's perfect. So now with our music, we don't want it to be overpowering. We want it to be noticeable, but not overpowering. So that's actually going to be the opposite thing we do. So I'm going to make sure our track's all highlighted. Now, the reason this is in segments is because the song wasn't quite long enough, so I went ahead and kind of copied and pasted it and mixed it together a little bit. So we want all these to probably be about a negative 24-ish. So let's go ahead and see how that sounds with Brian talking.
Or something like that would be, I think, two things: just the variety of the workouts and also the camaraderie of it. Whereas
I'm going to bump it up to like a negative 23 or so.
before, whenever I'd work out,
Oops, that wasn't. Make sure we get them all highlighted here.
I'd kind of do the same things over and over again and get bored and end up looking at my phone a little bit.
Okay, I like that. Again, we want it to be noticeable but not overpowering. So around negative 22, 24, depending on how loud the song is and how good your original audio source of the actual testimonial will kind of determine on the music level. So I like that. So now our audio is set for both our speaker as well as our music. So I'm going to change up the beginning just a little bit. We're going to hear our music kick in. All right, so here's an issue we got. See how the yellow has an FX? That means our audio levels are negative 23. But these other ones that have the black bar or black box, that means our audio levels did not get changed. So a quick way to do that is highlight the effect panel that, or the audio clip that you want that's correct. So that's a negative 23. We're gonna hit Control C for copy. Then we're gonna highlight all these non-yellow box ones. We're gonna hit Control Alt V. It's gonna bring up this dialog box. Basically, we're just copying all those effects to these different clips. Same thing with these ones on the ends. Highlight all of them. Control Alt V. Enter. And now all these should be the same. All right, let's try that again.
My name is Brian.
All right, that's a pretty hard start from the logo intro into the music or into the clip. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna hit the letter C to kind of highlight everything from here on. We're going to we're gonna lock the music actually. If we hit this little toggle lock here, we're gonna lock it. So now we're not gonna highlight the music no matter what. So that's going to, we're gonna hit letter C. We're gonna scoot that out just a little bit, just a few frames basically. So now we're going to go to the end of our logo reveal. We're gonna hit the letter X. Now see, it usually puts them on both ends. We don't want that. We don't want that crossfade. So we're gonna delete the first one. And now it's gonna slowly fade out to black. And now with Brian's first clip, I'll also want to hit the letter, or actually Z. I should have said, we're gonna switch that to, we're gonna use the letter Z to get the crossfade. And also I'm gonna do with the letter X on his audio. So it comes in a little bit gradual.
My name is Brian Doyle. I'm a dentist here in Vincent.
Perfect. All right, so that's going to be a lot less dramatic transition into the interview.
I'm a dentist here in Vincennes. I've been coming.
I think that's going to look a lot better going forward.
October 2019. Before I came to Final Call.
Perfect. All right, so we've got that transition in there just a little bit. So now we're going to go to the very end to kind of make sure we end it on a good, solid note too.
I think there's a way they can tailor it to you where to work and get some really good results.
All right, now we hear that little, I've actually marked it in the audio file already. There's a hard beat right there where that green marker is.
Really good results.
So I like to end it on that hard beat. So I'm gonna hit that right there. I'm gonna highlight all my clips. I'm gonna hit the letter S, highlight again, letter V. And now I always like to end it, I kind of like to begin the audio file and end it with, or not the audio, the whole clip or the whole video with the logo. So we had the intro logo. So I'm going to drag and drop the other logo into here. And it seems a little bit small, but let's see how that looks first. So it's going to hit that hard note and then you're going to instantly go to the logo. I kind of like the hard punch. It kind of gives a final, like bang, here it is. So I like how it hits hard like that. But now I'm going to highlight the clip here. I'm going to go up to the panel where it says Effect Controls. Now you have to make sure you have a clip highlighted. For example, once this gets highlighted, all these options come up. So now we're going to go to, you've got position and scale. So I want actually to bump that up in scale. as long as you have a decent enough photo or file, you should be able to scale it up a little bit. Now, if this was like a little bitty teeny tiny thing, we can't really scale it up too terribly far because of the kind of distortion, but this one's not terrible, so we're gonna about right there, about 175%. So that should work. So go ahead and watch that again. Then the music's slowly gonna fade out right about there. We want to give a little bit of recognition to the logo. So that should work. I'm gonna unlock the audio file here too, so I can do a cut with the S, highlight it V, highlight it V. And with that, that'll be the mark out point of our clip. So I usually like to go one frame in, because if you mark it out here, it's going to end on a black frame, which you probably won't notice, but I like to move in one frame, hit the letter O. Now that marks it out right there. And so that'll be, that's going to encompass all these files here, but it will exclude these files here. We talked about in an earlier video, if we left these in and just rendered it out, it's going to render out all this blank space here and then show 2 random clips at the very end. So we don't really want that. So that's why we do the mark out. So that ends up to be about 1:30. So that'll be perfect for, say, like a YouTube video or a Facebook video. So that'll be fine. What else do we got? So there's another little trick I want to do. This time lapse is pretty neat. It's kind of a neat little file. I'm going to mute Brian for a minute. So it's a pretty neat file, but it's, kind of static, not a lot of movement. I mean, there's a lot of movement here, but I think we can make it a little neater. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to use the letter E to go backwards all the way to the beginning of that clip. Now up here, it can affect controls again. I'm going to make sure it's highlighted, and you see this position. There's also a little stopwatch here. We're going to basically make this kind of slide or pan across the screen as it goes by. So there's something else happening besides just the time lapse. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to scale it up to about 130 or so. Then I'm going to position, and also you can either type the numbers in here or actually just slide them yourself. So if you don't like the move, you can hit this little reset parameter. So I'm going to slide this over until you can start seeing how this is the edge of the clip there. So I'm going to slide it to right to the edge, right about there. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit the position stopwatch here. Now basically we are making a keyframe in this file or on this clip, and so we're basically telling it, hey, at this point here we want to do something. So I'm going to use the letter R, go to the very end of this file, make sure it's highlighted, and I'm going to go one frame back, so letter D. So now we go back to the original clip of the time lapse, and so now I want it to slide. As it moves, I want it to slide. So now I'm going to go probably to the extreme on the right side. Again, I'm just using my mouse over here and dragging it to the left. And right about there is going to be about the end of the clip. There you go. So you can start seeing that's the clip underneath. So we'll drag it a little bit to the right. Right about there. Good. So now if we play that one through, see how it kind of moves, has a little bit of movement, not a ton, but it's a pretty neat little effect for very little effort too. So I kind of like that. So I think we're probably good to go on this clip. And so we will go ahead and I'll hit shortcut Control M for this menu to pop up. Make sure our file's correctly named everything, and then we'll hit Q or export from here.